The Galapagos Islands are one of the world's most unique and precious ecosystems. Now, Ecuador has more money to protect them. At least $12 million a year will go towards conservation efforts, thanks to the largest Debt for Nature swap on record.
Debt for Nature swaps are a financial instrument where one country is able to reduce the amount of debt that it owes its foreign creditors in exchange for a commitment to protect the environment.
Think of it like refinancing a home loan, student loan, or car loan and getting a better rate or better payment schedule. These swaps are taking those savings and using them to fund conservation projects.
Generally speaking, there are two models. You can do a bilateral swap,
just the country in debt and the creditor,
or you can do a multi-party swap,
aka bringing in a third party like a nonprofit or NGO. These have been more popular in recent years, with countries like Ecuador, Barbados, and Belize signing multi-party swaps.
An example of what happened in Belize in 2021, they did a Debt for Nature swap with the Nature Conservancy, which agreed to purchase the entire amount of Belize's debt, which was $553 million, which they purchased at a discount, and were able to refinance that debt. So instead of $553 million, Belize only had to pay $364 million. Then the savings, basically, from that refinancing enabled about $180 million new money in conservation funding over the next 20 years to protect roughly 30% of its ocean area and expand high biodiversity protection zones.
Sounds good, but a little complicated.
The cons with Debt for Nature swaps are, first, these tend to be very complex, and kind of all the stars have to align in order to get them to work. It may not be scalable for every country that's in a debt distress situation. The second issue with them is that because these deals are so complex, the transaction costs can be very high. So then it kind of raises, like, is the juice worth the squeeze if it's like extremely costly to get the deal done versus how much debt we're actually reducing? And that kind of brings me to the third criticism of these structures, is that they're often not able to reduce enough debt to actually bring the country back into debt sustainability. But these structures do, a lot of things well. The first being that they provide an alternative way of providing climate finance to these vulnerable countries, because it's basically forgiving existing money that's owed back to them. The second is that the debtor countries are able to use local currency to finance environmental projects rather than using foreign currency or having to repay debt. The third most important pro of these swaps is that they're creating a revenue channel for environmental conservation and protection at a time when we're seeing rapid environmental degradation.
The effects of climate change come with a hefty price tag. Take Pakistan. Devastating monsoon flooding left damage exceeding $40 billion. More damage often means more debt. According to the International Monetary Fund, of 59 countries at high risk of climate change, 34 are also at high risk of debt distress.
These two issues really reinforce each other in a vicious cycle. And, I think many countries are starting to realize that they need to solve them simultaneously. And so this will be an important tool in that fight. Even if it can't resolve all of the debt and all of the climate issues at once, it's still definitely a positive step forward.